So, will it stay on? Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this month's meeting of the Board of Trustees. We want to let everyone know if you need translation services, please visit us in our technology room in the back, and we'd be glad to assist you. Test. Okay. Okay, let's try this in Spanish now. Bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta junta directiva de El Paso ISD. Si alguno de ustedes necesita servicios de traducción en español, por favor nos visite en la sala de tecnología y le asistemos. Gracias.
Desi, did you need to?
I've got, okay, good afternoon, everybody. It is now 5:09 p.m., and I'm calling our regular board meeting of April 18th to order. At this time, I will ask everyone to please rise for our pledges of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Item number 3 will be a moment of silence, so I'll ask for that moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now go to item number 4, our recognitions. And so I will ask Ms. Liza to please step forward, and the board members to go ahead and go to in front of the dais.
Good evening, Board President Velarde, board members, and Ms. Saavedra. I am happy to be here this evening to present this month's recognitions. We are almost at the end of the school year, and we certainly have had many things to be proud of. Our district is not only the best in town, but also the best in the state. Our first recognition is for the Regional Spelling Bee winner. From Wiggs Middle School, 8th grader Arnav Tonde claimed the El Paso Regional Spelling Bee Championship after besting 33 spellers during the competition at Andrews High School's Performing Arts Center. Tonde's winning word was diatom, which is defined as a single-celled algae that has a cell wall comprised of silica. Tonde was a runner-up in the competition in 2021, so you can imagine how pleased he was to have claimed the title this year. By virtue of his win, Tonde will compete against the nation's best in the Scripps National Spelling Bee, which will take place later this month or in June in Washington, D.C. Help me congratulate Tonde, his sponsor, Vanessa Ortiz, and Principal Tim Luther with a big round of applause. Just follow her this way over here. He's gonna start. I know. Oh. Congratulations and good luck in DC. Congratulations. Our next recognition goes to a team of girls from Merera Elementary. El Paso ISD held its annual elementary robotics competition where over 130 teams from all over the district came together to compete. This was the first year these students participated in the robotics competition. Maya Centeno, Sofia Calloway, Monica Hernandez, and Riley Hernandez took first place in the 2023 El Paso ISD robotics competition. The team's attention to detail, effort, and dedication to their program for the robotics competition led them to the incredible victory. The teams were given 5 tasks, which they were able to obtain points depending on the successful completion and accuracy. Precision was key, as any small variable could cause the robot to go completely off course. After receiving the natural disaster scenario, the students had to code the robot to complete all 5 tasks in one single code, and all had to be completed under 2.5 minutes. The coding included directional movement of the robot, controlling the speed and angles of the turns, and other variables to solidify their win. Their principal is truly proud of their novice team and their domination of the competition. Please give these girls a big round of applause. Yeah, I say, can we have the parents join in for the photo? Would the parents like to join in? No? Okay, okay. Thank you and congratulations again. Our last recognition of the evening is a very special honor for one of our wonderful teachers. Keith Lee Stanley from Franklin High School was named a finalist for the Women of Impact for El Paso. Keith Lee has been with the district for 15 years, following in her mother's footsteps, who is also an educator. Among all of Keith Lee's accomplishments, she created the Priceless Heart Project for her late son, Clinton. This organization teaches students to be philanthropic and promote giving to their community. The El Paso Inc. editorial board conducts the first round of scoring to determine the finalist, and a panel of past Women of Impact honorees evaluate the finalists independently and determine the winners. It is an honor to have one of our educators as a finalist for this prestigious award. Please welcome Keith Lee with a round of applause. Yes, of course.
Well, thank you for allowing your wife to spend so much hours doing great work for us here in El Paso.
Thank you. This completes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so those are some great recognitions today. We are now going to item number 5, public forum. Our treasurer, or secretary is not here at this point, so I'll go ahead and read out the statement and be responsible for making sure the clock is followed. So before we call our speakers forward, the district is the local government body charged with serving the educational needs of all school children in our district, and board meetings must be focused on meeting this charge. In meeting that charge, the district board meetings are public meetings under the Texas Open Meetings Act to conduct the business of the district. They are not, however, meetings of the public. Therefore, all persons in attendance are expected to display civility and decorum, that is, respect for other persons, without the use of insulting, profane, threatening, or abusive language. Public comment will not be used for personal attacks. In addition, you are directed to the district's complaint procedures and board policy regarding employee, student, parent, or public complaints. The Deputy Superintendent of Administration is in attendance if you wish to discuss a matter with him. Please note that during public forum, Special factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries. However, the board may not deliberate or decide any subject that is not posted on its agenda. So our first speaker will be Ms. Karen Gallanter. Ms. Gallanter, you'll have 3 minutes. You may proceed.
Board President Velarde, board members, and Ms. Saavedra, my name is Karen Gallanter. Hello, and thank you for having us here. I've been a librarian at McGoffin Middle School as of 2014. Since becoming a librarian with EPISD, I've worked hard to earn the trust of the teachers at my school by collaborating with them on lessons, offering suggestions of books to help pique their students' interests, and helping to create digital learning materials for teachers during COVID and through online learning. It's recently been brought to our attention that the district is proposing to realign our job duties so that we fall in line with the Texas State Library Standard suggestions. This was published by the district in a 3-page document called the Library Matrix. The standards that the district is looking to realign to has 7 strands of leadership, all of which our district librarians strive to fulfill. These strands are digital learning, inquiry, reading, creating a safe space, information literacy, leadership, and library management. We took the proposed library matrix and compared it to the Texas Library strands, and while most of the proposed duties are things that we do, there were several that did not match up to any state standards. Instead, they are related to performing computer maintenance, hardware, and support. The district, in essence, is asking librarians to take on a full-time job of being an on-site computer technician on top of our already full-time librarian job. While I can understand how at first glance it might appear that technology support would fit neatly into a strand titled Digital Learning, this is, in actuality, not the case. The Digital Learning strand states that effective school libraries are a vital hub with equitable access to emerging technologies which provide curated and open access to a variety of print and digital resources. They support best instructional practices and curriculum standards through the integration of resources while assessing the impact on student learning. In other words, digital learning is focused on the application and creation of a project, not on the hardware. Based on the state's definition, any work regarding computer deployment, tech support, and inventory does not fit into our job duties and would be better suited for other district or campus personnel. Our focus as librarians has always been to guide patrons in reading and learning using both physical books and digital sites. Shifting our focus to hardware is something that we're not trained in and would, in essence, have a detrimental effect on our ability to curate resources and assist our patrons to our fullest ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallanter. Our next speaker is Janet Anaya. Ms. Anaya. Ms. Anaya, you will have 3 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you. Board Member Velarde, board members, and Ms. Saavedra. My name is Janet Anaya, and this is my 28th year with EPISD. Currently, I am the librarian at Franklin High School. Today, I would like to discuss the contributions our school libraries have on the social emotional well-being of our students. Obviously, we contribute by providing books to our students. Part of our job as librarians is to learn our population. We need to pay attention to the kinds of books our students are requesting, to the newest series that are popular, to any movies that may be based on books, and of course to the books that will help them be successful in their class and with their class projects. We have all this information in our mind when we start reading book reviews, attending webinars, or looking at those award lists to create our book orders that will include the best possible selections for our students. In turn, our students are able to come in and check out these books. They are able to escape their everyday lives while they are reading. Many can relate to the situations that the characters face, and they realize they are not the only ones with certain issues in their lives. Some books even provide students with additional resources in case they need more information or even need help. All that power in one book. Additionally, we as librarians and the library space we create is crucial to many students just making it through their day. We are a consistent figure to our students as they move from grade to grade in a school. They begin to trust and feel comfortable with us. Many students come in to ask for help, to gather their thoughts, to work on homework, to study for a test, or just sit and read. They know they can get one-on-one attention when they have a question about anything from looking for a book, printing a document, finding out more information about our campus, and the list can go on and on and on. Let me share a story with you from several years ago. Before I was at Franklin, I was at Lincoln Middle School for 14 years. So plenty of time for siblings to go up through the grades. And we had one student, and he had a really hard time transitioning to the 6th grade. Many times I would be driving to school, and he would be running away from the school. I would hear a commotion in the hall from him not wanting to be in class. So when his class visited the library, I made sure to tell him that I knew his older sister, who had told me about her younger brother. So from there on, many times he would come into the library fuming from the bad day he was having, and he would plop into a beanbag, and he would look at me and say, "Oh, so you know my sister?" And I would say, "Yes, I do." And we would have a conversation, and his breathing would slow down, his anger would leave him, and he would be ready to go back to class. That's the kind of safe place our libraries provide for so many of our students. So when you start putting other full-time job descriptions on top of our full-time job descriptions, or you start making
Your time is up,
librarians
ma'am.
only part-time, our students will be the ones who suffer and to find the lights off and the doors locked.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jennifer Brownell.
Board President Velarde, board members, and Ms. Saavedra. My name is Jennifer Brownell. I have been with the district for 20 years, 16 of those as the librarian at Zach White, and this year I was given a split assignment with Zach White and Carlos Rivera. 2 weeks into this school year, I was told that I would be splitting my time between 2 campuses because of enrollment being under 400 students. Why should campuses under 400 students be punished, especially when neighboring schools are so extremely full? The minute that decision was made, my school community became just a number. How is this fair or equitable? When I reached out to my school board member regarding the split assignment, I was told that they did not even know that librarians were being split. It was also stated that clarification was needed as to the current roles of librarians and how that role fits into a 2022 paradigm. This was disappointing to hear. We have highlighted our library programs and invited leadership and board members to come visit. We have a job description and state standards. We have asked repeatedly to be included in conversations regarding the library programs. We have been tasked with other duties that do not fall under our job description or the state standards, and now some of us are having to split our time between 2 campuses. At the March 21st school board meeting, concerns regarding the role of librarians and aligning our job descriptions with the state standards were discussed. According to the Texas Library State Standards, Strand 6, which focuses on leadership, states, school library program activities show evidence of best practices when modeled by a full-time certified school librarian in every school, supported by trained paraprofessionals. Every campus needs a full-time certified librarian. Campuses with high enrollment should be staffed accordingly as well. The role of librarians and literacy was also discussed at this meeting. Strand 1 and 3 of the state standards focus on information literacy and reading. Librarians are one of the most valuable key players in advocating for literacy. We are your literacy superheroes. We always have been, and yet having a split campuses and tasked with other duties shows how undervalued we are. At the March DEIC meeting, budget was discussed. Under the realized savings, it was identified that out of the $9.3 million saved, only $573,000 came from the implementation of small campus staffing guidelines. 4 librarian salaries make up that number. Is that number worth it? Students and teachers have voiced concern over not having a full-time librarian. My students ask me on a regular basis why the library is closed. Some of my librarian appreciation cards from my students said, "We miss you and we are sorry we lost you." We do more than just check out books. We are an amazing group of educators who touch the lives of every student on our campus over many years. We provide safe and unique spaces for our students, faculty, and school communities to enjoy. We educate and provide. We teach and offer free choice. And yes, we do foster the love of
Thank you, Ms.
reading
Brownell. Your
in so
time
many
is up.
different ways. Every campus needs a full-time librarian, and we need to be allowed to be a librarian so that it really does start with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brownell. Our next speaker, Mr. Richard Edmund Dayu.
Good afternoon. For the record, Richard Dayu, Thunderbird Management Consulting. Mr. President, Superintendent Saavedra, it's good to see all of my friends from so long ago again. Thank you for this time. I wanted to speak to you about the May 6th ballot and specifically about the climate charter known as Prop K. I know that the district is unable to take a formal position, but I would like to share some critical information with your families, your constituents, your employees, and your taxpayers. However well-intentioned the petitioners were in composing the language for this ballot, there are unintended consequences should it pass. Severe consequences that will impact our taxpayers, our economic development efforts, and our future prosperity. We all want cleaner air and a plentiful water supply for our children and grandchildren. Ironically, there are already efforts ongoing by the city to foster and support practices in both public and private sectors to improve our environment, but without overburdening our citizens with higher property taxes and utility bills. The voters approved Prop C on last November's ballot, which allocates $5 million per year to the city's new Climate and Sustainability Department. Unfortunately, that was not taken into consideration. If you vote yes, you're voting to require the city to use all means possible to acquire El Paso Electric, currently valued at $9 billion, an increased cost for all future district capital improvement projects. I encourage all El Pasoans to vote nay on Prop K on May 6th. Early voting begins this coming Monday, April the 24th. For additional information, you can contact the El Paso Chamber of Commerce. And for those who are interested, I do have a few handouts. I'll stay for a few minutes and hand them out if they want them. Otherwise, I want to thank you for your consideration and congratulations on the beautiful new facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayu. Okay, our next speaker is Ms. Norma De La Rosa. Ms. De La Rosa, you have 3 minutes. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Velarde, members of the board, Ms. Saavedra. I am Norma De La Rosa, President of El Paso Teachers Association. I come before you this afternoon to bring to your attention 2 concerns: threats made by students to teachers and proposed changes to the structure of our libraries and librarian duties. I have had teachers report to me that threats such as, "I'm going to bring a gun and shoot people and then kill myself," or "I'm going to bring a knife and stab as many people as I can," "I'm going to get my cousin in Albuquerque to come and shoot up the school, and he said he would," or a student FaceTiming someone and threatening to bring a rifle to school and kill people. The question I'm asked is this: are these threats being investigated? Are they credible? Or what do I do? To whom do I report this? I'm sure these are questions that are being asked across the district, but yet the teachers get no answers. Answers to assure them that they have nothing to worry about or they have no idea what the procedures are. Yet one thing is for sure: these same students report to class the next day and act as if nothing is amiss. This alone does not and will not assure teachers that they and their students are safe. They don't know if they are safe or will be safe. One teacher has stated to me that, being former military, the manner in which the district is handling these threats is definitely lacking, and very clear, no one's trained in threat assessment. Perhaps that will change when you are faced with a $40 million lawsuit. The last issue I wish to address is the proposed plan currently being discussed that would change not only the duties of the librarian, but would significantly change how the library is used. The major contention is the proposed use of the librarian as the tech lead on their campus. They would be responsible for every aspect of the devices that all students have, from passwords to fixing them to inventorying, distributing, retrieving, and preparing them for repair. How does this impact the librarians? When will they find time to work with all of the children on their campuses and promote literacy and the love of literacy? When will they have time to teach them how to use the library and find the reading material they will need as they continue their education, or just even read them a story? For many of our students have no one at home to read a story to them. This definitely goes contrary to the superintendent's initiative of promoting literacy in the district. Let's not do what another district has done. Let's be innovative and let's let our librarians do the job they were certified to do. And if any changes need to be made in regards to how we promote literacy and the role of the librarians, ask the librarians themselves what will work best for our students so that they can promote a love of reading that is definitely a lifelong skill. They are not technicians, they are teachers. Set the priorities straight for this district. Let the teachers and the librarians teach.
Thank you, Ms. De La Rosa. Your time is up.
And utilize the library for the benefit of all of our EPISD students. Thank you.
Ms. Sandy Hernandez. Ms. Hernandez, you will have 3 minutes and you may proceed.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sandy Hernandez. I am a teacher at Bliss Elementary. This is my first time in my teaching career to stand before a school board. Yesterday, Monday, April 17th, 2023, a water line broke near our campus. This approximately happened around 10 a.m., that is an estimation, and the water was shut off for the remaining of the day, which is 3:25 p.m. Toilets had no running water during the whole time frame, and also during this time, toilets were filled with feces, urine, and of course, toilet paper. Some of us had to place trash cans outside our restrooms doors so that the toilet paper would not reach the rim of the toilet. Okay, the custodians were doing the best that they could. There was no portable bathrooms brought to our campus, nor portable tanks filled with water for drinking and hand washing. If there were, where were they? Why were we not evacuated to Chapin High School? It's our emergency school. Why was the military not asked to help us since they are on base with us? They have helped us in the past. Right now, currently, we do have running water. Also, without the running water, it does affect the ACs. We now have running water, but it's still yellow as of 3:25 p.m. Okay. Lastly, water bottles. I do have samples if anybody does want to see the samples of the water. And lastly, on Monday, the water bottles were given, but they were expired in 2020. Okay. On Thursday, April 13th, 2023, we reported that there was brown water starting to come through the campus. I ask you, everybody, for compassion for our children and for our employees, please listen to us. We are very concerned. Teachers are very concerned. We deserve the best from everybody. We work hard. We are dedicated to our jobs. We ask for no more than that. So please help us. That's all I can say right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Our next speaker is Mr. Ross Moore. Mr. Moore, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and you may proceed.
Board President Velarde, board members, Ms. Saavedra, my name is Ross Moore, President El Paso AFT. I'm asking you to restore continuing contracts as well as restoring the ability of all employees to sell back accrued leave when they retire out of EPISD. This will help you with retention problems. In the summer of 2013, the Board of Managers ended continuing contracts for EPISD employees hired after September 1st, 2013. Teachers in the 3-year probationary contract pipeline were not grandfathered in, even though they had completed their probationary period. They wanted to make it easy to fire, to quote one person, teachers who just occupied a chair, end quote. I've been advocating for a return since I became local president in June of 14. This was typical of what was happening throughout Texas when the term human capital management was introduced into the vernacular of ISDs by Miles, Marath, and Karstafen. Continuing contracts do not make employees termination proof. When you look at the processes and the HR termination success rates, they're the same for term or contract. However, they do send messages that we as a district are committing to you for the long run. Will you do the same for us? You do not need to wonder, employees do not need to wonder if they're going to have a job next year, and employees can depend on no surprise hidden changes being inserted in their contracts. Good leaders know that it is really about little signs of respect like this and valuing their people that matter, not bundt cakes. The Board of Managers were intent on turning EPISD into a corporate entity. Their idea of leadership, I have 2 words for you: Juan Cabrera. I think that says it all. As to selling back leave, employees hired before July 1st, 2014 can sell back their accrued leave when they retire. That is an incentive not to use leave frivolously. Those who were hired after July 1st, 2014 are not allowed to do so courtesy of the Board of Managers. They are in the use or lose mode when it comes to accrued leave days. Board of Managers used a couple of outlier examples to do this, and then when people complained, they were told, you don't like it here, go elsewhere. As I shared with the Deputy Soup for Administration, that when I'm asked by members, I advise those who were hired after that date to build up 5 to 10 days of accrued leave as a reserve, then take days when you need them and want to take them for medical, dental, mental hygiene purposes for yourself and your family. Otherwise, they're lost and wasted. This employee-friendly change of a bad policy will reduce absenteeism and therefore improve educational outcomes. It would also save you money on substitutes and help with that shortage. This is the kind of things that determines whether a district is employee-friendly and taking care of its people or just managing its human capital. Thank you very much for your attention. I really urge you to make these changes.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I've been informed, Ms. Carrasco, do we still have one person who was unable to sign in, wishing to speak before this board? Miss, can you please provide that name again, please?
Julia Moniz.
Julia Moniz, okay. What we will need to do is do a quick board action in order to authorize that person to speak. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Ms. Moniz, you may come forward to speak. You will have 3 minutes.
Hi, Board President Velarde and board members and Ms. Saavedra. My name is Julia Moniz, and I'm here to talk about some concerns about safety and communication at Bliss Elementary, and specific to incidents that happened within the last week. An email was sent by Bliss administration that there was a sharp object found on campus Wednesday afternoon. Parents received an email about the incident on Friday afternoon at 6:54 p.m. that they could call the school if they had questions. It took the campus over 48 hours to notify parents that there was a weapon on campus. However, before they were sent an email, parents were made aware by a Facebook post that stated that parents had heard the parent of the student who had the knife bragging because their student didn't get in trouble and in fact was just suggested to be counseled next year. While I understand everything on Facebook is not true, this should not have been the way that parents find out there's a weapon on campus. Why weren't we notified sooner? Was there increased police presence on campus? And if there wasn't, why weren't parents notified? And if there wasn't, was the concern not taken seriously? If it is a top concern of our student safety, then why weren't parents given the chance to call the school before the email was sent out? Because everything in the email sent out on Friday afternoon could have been sent that Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning because there was no specifics. My second concern is on Monday when Bliss didn't have water. An email was sent at 11:53 that water was expected to be restored within an hour, and the next update was not sent until 7:43 p.m. that the school was without water for the rest of the day. This means that during this time, they had no water for hand washing, flushing of toilets, water for the swamp coolers to operate effectively. Were the students and teachers expected to hold it or use the bathroom without flushing? One option isn't healthy and the other is unsanitary. During this time, students had lunch and recess and didn't have the ability to wash their hands. As for the swamp coolers, there are multiple parents and students complaining that the school was very hot when they went to pick up their students and while they were there. Multiple parents also expressed they didn't even receive an email about the water being out, and others didn't receive an email or a class dojo. Multiple parents found out through Facebook from other parents who did receive the email. As for the email sent that night, it was stated that students were escorted to an area off campus that was not affected, but in fact, there were staff escorting students during the day, during school hours. Why weren't parents notified that their students were leaving campus? In fact, if we're so extensively trained, as the school said, why wasn't non-expired water given during the school day? And why weren't the school just let out if the swamp coolers weren't effective? If there was a fire, what would have been done if there's no water on campus? And if there wasn't, why wasn't the fire department notified that there wasn't water in case of an emergency? And then also, of course, with the brown water at the
Ms. Manish,
school.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our public forum. We will now go to item number 6, public meeting hearing. 6A is public meeting on elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER 3 program and safe return plan report. Ms. Saavedra.
Yes, thank you, President Velarde and trustees. This evening, we do have an updated report for you that will chronicle and outline the spending of our ESSER money. By law, we're required to provide you with reports every 6 months or so, twice a year. So Ms. Macias is going to lead that presentation, and once she concludes her presentation, we'll take questions.
President Velarde, Ms. Saavedra, members of the board. Here with me today I have Mr. Daniel Vasquez, Director of External Funds and Fund Development, to help me with this presentation. Of course, we have our cabinet here to answer any questions that I might not go through or any questions that might come up. As Ms. Saavedra mentions, this is our 6-month use of funds update. Oh, thank you so much. On August 5th, 2021, El Paso ISD was awarded $190.7 million elementary and secondary school educational relief, which is ESSER 3 funds, through the American Rescue Plan, which is ARP. El Paso ISD's ESSER 3 use of funds plan targeted 4 primary areas of student and community supports to align with the required use of funds criteria in the ARP conditions to fund acceptance. So the first item that we have is accelerated learning and learning loss, technology, social and emotional well-being for students and staff, learning environments, which was HVAC and facility updates. Today we'll be going over the ESSER use of funds update, ESSER project impact, public dashboard that was uploaded in January, ESSER halftime reviews that were conducted by our team, and of course our ESSER next steps. For the ESSER 3 use of funds update, back in August of 2022, we were at 26% spent, which was approximately $49 million. And our grant period was 29%. We were through 29% of our grant period. Now I'm proud to say that we are 61% spent or encumbered, and we are at 52% of our grant period. Something that the Department of Education recently shared is that all local education agencies have been granted an extension period from September 2023 to September 2024. So that is something positive. Our team actually proactively submitted that requisition whenever we inputted the proposal. So therefore, everybody else received that extension. However, we had already planned for that. So our planning grant period is through September 30th of 2024. These are some of the projects that we have implemented. School supply packs. Our school supply packs, we were able to provide that to all of our children last year, and they are en route and are supposed to be delivered July of 2023, so all of our students will have their supply packs for this coming year. Another thing that was granted was we also one of the projects also encumbered care packs, and those were for our neediest students, and those care packs include hygiene items, backpacks, and in some case uniforms as necessary. For our student laptop initiative and technology, the majority of our IT ESTER 3 projects have been completed. This includes the purchase of laptops for students to complete the district-wide laptop replacement program, the completion of laptop lease payments, a tech repair waiver project, and purchases for laptops for teachers, alpha, and PEEM clerks. The distribution of these devices is underway. As these projects are required, they have been all purchased and encumbered. They are being imaged, and distribution of over 10,000 devices is currently undergoing. The other item that we had for Project Impact is we had our after-school learning centers. In December of 2022, we worked with Streamtastico, and currently we have 10 campuses as of December that are receiving the extended day learning care. And in May of 2023, which is next month, we're going to be adding 6 more campuses. So by next year, each one of our elementary campuses will have an after-school program. These programs with Streamtastico are actually using the 21st Century After-School Learning Center program. So if you'll notice on this picture here, they often do their 1 hour power training as far as doing their homework after school, and it's guided. And then after that, they do some STEM activities. So if you notice, there's a picture there where they're playing some chess. So they do different activities after school in collaboration. The other item that we have is our high-impact tutoring. I provided the dais, each one of you, with additional information for our high-impact tutoring. And what it looks like is we were able to identify, we actually had our students complete over 404,000 hours of high-impact tutoring. And we were able to identify, and we have a Tableau dashboard that shows that the actual impact that this interaction has had for our students. So if you look at the document, we actually have our students that were broken down into 3 categories. We have, of course, the reading and the math. The first item that we have is for our students that needed high-impact tutoring. So for example, in 2021, they did not pass their STAR exam. And at the beginning of 2022, the beginning of year, they did not pass their beginning of year interim assessment. So for those students, we were able to identify if they received over 10 hours of high-impact tutoring, what if they were able to improve one performance level. So for example, they did not meet, and then they actually improved 2 approaches. So with that, we were able to identify those students that received 10 or more hours. They actually had an increase. And in the second little item that we have, and again, you have it on your dais if you'd like, are you able to see it? Yes, thank you. In the second item, we were able to identify the students that needed the initial tutoring or the high-impact tutoring, and they received less than 10 hours. And in the last document that you see, or the the visual that you have is for our students that passed all of their assessments. However, the biggest impact that they had is instead of being virtual, now they were face-to-face. So we could actually see how all of those interventions actually supported our students in reading and math. The other item that we had is our employee retention stipends. Our employees have received 2 retention stipends, and I know that's also an agenda item that will be discussed today. And for our retention stipends, we actually had, as far as data that we were able to pull, we had, prior to COVID, we had 928 total separations. And last year, 21-22, that number decreased by 74 total employees. And currently, we have a total of 513 separations to date, which is a decrease of 44%. So these are all of the different projects that have been implemented and a little bit of the impacts that they had, the positive impacts that they had to our EPISD. As I mentioned back in January, we launched our dashboard. This is found on our EPISD website. If you go to Quick Links, ESSER dashboard, you're able to identify and see a dashboard that you're able to hover over, and it identifies, of course, our total project funds that we were awarded, which was $190.7 million. Current to date encumbrances is $117 million, and the balance that we have is 73%, or $73 million. Within this dashboard, we're able to identify it from our key items or key projects: learning loss, safe facilities, social emotional learning, technology, and all of those items are color-coded, and it has the breakdown of the budget available in the percent spent. If you go onto the website, you're able to see all of our total projects, and within the total projects, if you hover on top of it, it gives you a brief description, and of course, it identifies each project, the total budget, the amount spent, and of course, the balance that we're currently have on the books and we're working towards completing, and again, for September of 2024. And this is, we have currently 35 projects within the 5 different criteria that we have. And one thing that our team has done, as of December, I believe, they started doing their halftime reviews. So every single project manager met with a team and they were able to identify where they were within their project, if they're on target, if they have to make any adjustments, or anything that we could do to continue to assist to ensure that we're meeting the target to have all of our funding that was provided to us encumbered and spent and implemented by September of 2024. So this is an example that we have. So for our HVAC projects, this is one of our largest projects that we have within our ESSER program. We had 21 of our middle school and high school campuses that received HVAC support systems within their communal areas. And I also provided a document for y'all to see that shows all 21 of our middle school and high schools, and it identifies which areas the HVAC projects were implemented. So during these HVAC, or during these halftime reviews, what the team does alongside with the assigned project manager, they identify where they are with the bid process, with evaluation, with the approval and submission, of course, to you to approve some of those items when they come to budget, and then the anticipated delivery. So with this project, as you see, it is underway. In April 15th of 2024 that's the anticipated delivery day for all of our HVAC projects to be completed. The other example that I have here to share with you is for instructional technology, which are student devices. This is one of our projects that is completed and has been completed. All items have been received, re-imaging, and these are the different areas that I had mentioned to you earlier, which was student laptop refresh, the temporary devices, the contracts that we had, the lease agreements, and it actually shows the percent completed and those conversations that underwent to make sure that this project is implemented within the time necessary. And this is the last piece of it, this is our project summary that was included within your attached documents that you received. Here we have 26 projects that are meeting targets. And I won't go through each one of them, but these are all on target or on track to be completed within that September 2024 deadline. And then we have 9 projects that we're currently working on alongside our project managers to ensure that we are going to meet those targets. So for example, credit recovery, we have professional development, learning loss, and differentiation. Whenever the team met for the halftime reviews, they were identifying that those projects were either lagging within their timeline or they might be redesigned. Some of the project managers coming in, they identified that some of them might have been duplication of services once they started looking into, of course, our blueprint and what we had in place. So these are things that each project manager, along with our team, is identifying if we are going to redesign, re-image, and those are things that we're looking at implementing to ensure that we finish these EDGER projects on time. As far as for the next dates, in August, when we see you all, we are projecting that we'll have 72% of our projects in motion to be spent, or as far as the encumbered. And those are things that you'll see today. There's certain projects that you'll be approving today, so all of those are in line. By August, we'll give you another update, and we're projecting that the percent spent and encumbered will be at 72%. We'll be transitioning some of the project needs, and of course, we're doing that always with our blueprint that you all approved. So those are the things that we'll also be sharing with you very transparently to ensure that you see as we move forward what it is that we're doing to redesign. And of course, very excitingly is we're actually going to start having our closeout. So right now our team is doing, we're calling it the third quarter. So with those projects that you saw that were still in phase or needed a little bit of adjustment, those are the ones that we're going to be working alongside, of course, Cabinet. Those meetings are actually scheduled to start as of tomorrow so that we could continuously redesign. And again, the idea is to have everything encumbered by September of 2024. Any questions?
Are there any questions from any of our board members?
No, but I know handling such a large amount of money is like they have, you all have done a great job, and over the 3 years, or we're in, what, year 2, 1 more year going. I had just thought maybe if there was a need for, like you were saying, adjustments, will they allow us to do that if we went a little longer than we needed? But it doesn't seem like we're gonna need that.
Correct, and right now, the fact that they did give that adjustment to all all LEAs, I think that's a positive for all ISDs, but that's something I want to give kudos to the team. That was something that they already had projected and did recommend to TA for the approval, and we received that approval. When was that, Mr. Vasquez? So we received at the beginning of the submission of the application versus just a couple of weeks ago like other entities did, so kudos. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, congratulations. And being in grant management, it does make a difference on having the experience and being able to maneuver those funds in one category for the needs that you're wanting. Sometimes can be very difficult, but it seems like you all are able to make that happen. Congratulations again.
Thank you, and it's really a kudos to Cabinet because they're taking the lead, ensuring that all the project leads are making that, of course, Ms. Saavedra. Thank you for your guidance.
Okay, I ditto that sentiment. Thank you so much for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, did we have another question?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Dr. Acevedo?
Really happy with how you presented this. I really digging the new presentation slide templates. It's very apparent how we're implementing those. I just wanted to say that. Probably Liza's team is in charge of that, so wanted to say that. But as you look through some of this stuff, I'm seeing some of these things lagging, and one of them that came to mind is the procurement issue. Like, for example, moving for a healthy mind for students. Is the procurement an issue in terms of the policy that we're changing and it's going to get easier, or if you could speak to that? Because I'm just worried about it interfering, and then I'm also thinking if it's interfered in other projects to start kind of getting a visual of how that policy can be better.
So I think the policy that you're proposing to discuss this afternoon will be greatly helpful. I think a lot of our program managers and campuses are very comfortable with local funds because there are fewer restrictions around them. But then when we utilize federal funds, there's a lot more connected to it, and that's just creating some unfamiliarity. But Dr. Villalba and Ms. Aguirre have been very cooperative in taking a look at how we can improve our processes. And I just think in general, this will help us not only with closing out ESSER, but also with other grant activities and some of the utilization of our federal funds across the board.
And so I guess what would be helpful, Ms. Saavedra, is like, since ESSER is such a big one and I'm seeing a little procurement coming up through it, if we could just get like a simple list, nothing too detailed, but on like, the policy was holding up these things, and now that the policy has been placed, it has mitigated these issues, and we could implement what we wanted with ESSER. That would be a nice visual, like as a board update.
Thank you. We will provide, I'll put that on the pending list.
So I was actually listening. I had a flight delay today, but I was listening to your presentation from the phone. Really quick feedback or questions, I guess. I get a lot of concerns from some of my constituents that there was such a large allotment of ESSER money, and they're not necessarily sure how it's being appropriated to recover some of the learning loss from COVID. I did see we had some of the things on here that are lagging, but I would share that concern, and I do want to express that concern from them, that they feel that the intention of this really, they don't want it to be a missed opportunity to appropriate some really big dollars to making sure that students are recovering from COVID and have access to a lot of those mental health supports, social emotional awareness, and accelerated instruction that, maybe they're missing out on. So I do see a lot of intervention support, but I'm hoping that as we kind of hit round the bases on this last curve, that we can communicate how that accelerated instruction is being folded in.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Was that a question, or are we expecting a response?
I
You
think
just
that was,
comment.
I took that as feedback, as
I
that
did.
going forward, they'd like more information about accelerated instruction strategies that are serving to recover learning loss, in addition to projects that are on the dashboard already.
And just real quick, for the record, Ms. Hernandez did join us at 6:05 PM. So, Mr. Irabali, did you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation here? Okay, well, with that, I think we've concluded this item. Thank you again so much for a great presentation. That takes us now to items 7A, report quarterly update on school facility. Oh, okay, I've just been advised, sorry, that this was a public meeting, so at this time, I am opening the floor to anybody who would wish to come forward and make a comment. I see that there is nobody wanting to come forward to make comments, so with that said, the public forum to this hearing has now concluded. We will now go to item 7A, quarterly update on school facility planning and construction, 2016 bond program. Ms. Saavedra?
Yes, President Velarde and trustees, this evening, Mr. Manny Verduzco, who is assuming some of our chief operations officer responsibilities, will be sharing an update on where we are with closing out some of our bond projects. We've made significant progress with the 2016 bond, and there are a short list of projects that are still pending, and that will be the focus of this evening's presentation. Mr. Verduzco, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, President Velarde, Ms. Ayavera, members of the board. It's my pleasure to come here today and give you an update on the presentation.
going on.
Can come back to it, I don't know.
While we wait for the technology to come back, I think we'll go ahead and move to our consent agenda items. And let's go ahead and take care of consent agenda, Ms. Saavedra. I'll leave our team to pull together that presentation. So at this time, we're going to go to we're going to postpone items 7H briefly. We're going to go to item number 9, consent agenda. So are there any items on consent agenda that any board members would like to remove?
9G and J, and if you could take them together, that might be helpful, unless other trustees have questions about it.
Okay, so it's 9G, 9J, and 9F. Okay. Any other items to be removed?
And I would like to just make a comment on items.
I need to, just right now at this point, can you pull it? If you want to make a comment on it, we need to pull it.
If I want to make a comment, I have to pull
We
it.
will need to pull it, yes.
Yes. C3.
I'm sorry?
C3, 9C3.
9C3, okay. Are there any other items that need to be pulled?
9N3.
9N3, okay. Are there any other items? Mr. Abali, I see a red button.
9 and 8.
I'm sorry?
9, N as in November.
9
8.
and 8. Okay, are there any other items? Okay. So right now, what I'm seeing as be requested to be removed are going to be item 9C3, 9F, 9G, 9J, 9N3, 9N8. If I hear no others, what I'm going to ask is for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those that I just read out.
President Velarde, just before we take the action, just Ms. Collins, we can do discussion on any item a part of the consent agenda, correct? And discussion being a comment or two.
So what I understood, Trustee Arabali, that you wanted to compliment the administration on the work on the policies and not really discuss the policy in depth. I think that you can do that before you vote on the consent. I mean, instead of pulling the item to discuss it. It's really not a discussion, but it's just a congratulations, I suppose.
So if we can go ahead and move to approve the consent agenda, at which point you can go ahead and share your.
Can she just do that now before you approve the consent agenda so we have consent up?
Okay, so which item are we talking to then?
9C3.
Okay, go ahead. I'll go ahead and allow you to make comment to it, please.
Yes, I just wanted to give some kudos over to Trustee Arabali for spending almost 6 months of his time trying to get this policy for leaves and absences for those that really need it within our district. And I just wanted to commend him for advocating for all of those that really need this. And I think it was a great change for you all. And hopefully those that need it can utilize it as soon as possible. Thank you, Trustee Arabali.
Okay, so then.
And President Velarde, so for me really quick, 'cause we'll wrap this up. This is the Andrus item, which is, give me a second, because it's here.
9C3?
In 3. I just want to thank Ms. Saavedra. This has been something that we've talked about for a year now since she's been here, and well before when I got elected, this is something that we've been championing for over 2 years between the community, staff here. I just want to say this is a good item, something that everyone should be talking about. It's investing in a school that really needs some TLC. It's showing that we do want to invest in our campuses, and more importantly, it's taking the extra funding that was not used in the bond project and rolling it right back into that campus. And thank you, Ms. Saavedra. Thank you to Dr. Carmona, Ms. Aguirre, Mr. Verusco, and Mr. Villalaba for your help, and anyone else that I missed. I know the community appreciates, and I know our kids will greatly benefit from it.
Okay, so then I'm going to reread the items that we're going to remove. Those comments mean we will not be removing those items from the consent agenda, correct? And if that's the case, the items to be removed will be item 9F, 9G, 9J, and 9N8.
She's doing N3. Leah is.
Okay, so I got it backward.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so it's N8 that we just discussed. N3 is going to still be removed, okay.
The only one was C3.
So I don't like to do this out of order like this, but okay.
She didn't want to remove C3. Our trustee,
Right, N3
Acevedo,
is
are you
staying,
asking for C3?
But N8 is,
Okay.
I mean, N3 is being removed, and N8 will stay. Is that
No,
correct?
No. So
N8 will be removed.
N3 and 8 will carry over and be pulled.
Okay, okay.
That's a different one.
N3.
C3 will not be full.
Okay, C3,
Will not be.
I'm now confused.
Okay.
Let's
So-
do this all over again, I'm sorry, I'm confused. So, what items are going to be pulled? Ms. Hanani, I'll go with you first. 9 and 3 will be pulled. Okay. Next item to be pulled.
F,
9F, okay.
G,
G,
J,
J,
9, N, 8.
9 and 8
Yes,
will be pulled.
correct.
Okay, are there any other items? Okay, I'm going to try to get this right again. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 9F, 9G, 9J, 9N3, 9N8. Am I missing anything? We good?
Good. Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None in opposition. Thank you. That consent agenda passes. We will now go to item 9. Mr. Acevedo, you said we could handle F, G, and J together?
Not F, but G and J, yes.
Okay, G and J. So let's do 9F. Approval of Texas Traffic Safety Grant and corresponding project celebration agreements between Texas Department of Transportation and El Paso Independent School District. Transportation Department, or Texas Department of Transportation, $8,250. Okay. Who asked that be removed?
You did.
I didn't ask for removal of anything.
It shouldn't have been removed then because.
Somebody asked for a 9F.
Motion to approve?
Move to, yeah, second.
Okay, we have a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item being removed is 9G, and we're going to do that along with 9J, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So 9G is approval of memorandum of understanding and data sharing and collaborative agreement between the Region 19 Vertical Alignment Network, El Paso Independent School District, El Paso Community College, the University of Texas, El Paso, and Education Service Center, Region 19. And item 9J is approval of facilities use agreement between the University of Texas at El Paso and El Paso Independent School District for 2023 graduations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 0. Motion G and J both passed unanimously. Mr.
And for the record, trustee, Dr. Acevedo did not take part in the vote.
He recused himself.
So now we are going to hear item 9N3.
Yeah, so we need to have, can you send it back in? Yeah. We're playing musical chairs here.
So item 9N3, approval to award ESSER Physical Activity and Virtual Reality Interactive Kits, RFP 23-046, Administration Recommendation, Advanced Health Styles Fitness Equipment, Inc., DBA Advanced Exercise, BSN Sports LLC, El Paso Official Products and School Specialty LLC, budgeted ESSER 3 funds, $299,670. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There being none, motion carries. We will now go to item.
And for the record, trustee Hernandez did not participate in the voting.
Ms. Hernandez did not participate, and we are now going to item N8. And I'm going to guess that Ms. Hernandez has stepped out also for a conflict on this
Nope,
one?
that's me.
Is she coming back?
That's me.
You're stepping out.
Nope, I have a question.
Oh, you have a question? We'll get this straight, and then we'll get back to the other one. Okay, Mr. Irabali.
Thank you. Trustee Call, who couldn't be here, asked me just to ask how we determine which campuses we're going to receive these water bottle filling stations, what that process was, because I did see in the backup that some were left off.
Do we have somebody who can answer that question?
Ms. Ramirez, can you step up and respond to the board member Irabali?
Irene Ramirez, Executive Director of Facilities and Construction. Excuse me. The locations were intended to be at at some elementaries. We have 77 locations where we are installing them. There's 43 elementary schools, 15 middle schools, and the 19 high schools or others, which is probably some of the pre-K-8s. So we are installing 225 fountains.
Which campuses are not being addressed, I guess, is the more direct question.
Well, the question is, what was the process used to determine which campuses were getting it and which are not? Because if we did 77 of our 80 plus, I'm just curious why 10 plus were left off.
Some of the, the bond locations were not included in this effort because they already were getting water bottle filler fountains. Most of them. So we elected to try and get some at each of the existing campuses that had not received any, or that didn't have water bottle filler fountains currently. So there may be more, but some of the bond schools already were. That was already in their scope of work.
Okay, so I guess I would ask, because I saw Bobby Joe Hill on there, that's a bond project. Coach Archie Luteran was another bond project that one. Dr. Torres Elementary bond project received one. I believe Irvin High School was on that list, which is also another bond project. So I'm curious, how then did we decide which bond projects received it and which ones did not?
Okay, well, let me follow up and make sure, get you the list of the ones that don't have it and how it is that they were excluded.
Okay. Miss, I think we can just get a.
Yeah, I have it on the pending list so that I can provide the board a rationale as to how we landed with the schools that are receiving the upgrade and why some were left off.
I just think this is a process question, this is not going to hold up the approval. I know that Mr. Cole just wanted to understand the process and how those were
Sure.
determined. Okay, so with that, I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That concludes our consent agenda items. Now we're going to go back. Are we ready to go back to the bond which would be, are we ready for the report on the bonds?
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're ready.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and proceed with that report.
Okay. Again, good evening, President Velarde, Ms. Ayavera, members of the board. We'll be providing you an update on the quarterly bond project. One part of the agenda was an introduction, bond summary, budget, construction updates, and also the technology projects updates corresponding to the bond. As you know, in January, the school district took over the management and implementation of the bonds. This January, our facilities and construction team. When I was asked to assist here in this position, we created a huddle, and our focus is to make sure we're providing excellent support and implementation, and also looking at and assessing accountability and controls to make sure that, we continue finishing strong, especially this bond project. Right?
Mr. Vedruso, just a second. I just want to call the attention of the board to the PowerPoint presentation handout that is at your seat at the dais, because it's slightly different than the presentation that is in the board packet. Thanks. Go ahead.
Okay. So in review, I wanted to review the bond program status that's been shared previously in the previous quarterly update. And again, we can see that the district 2016 bond was $670 million. We added there the surplus from the 2007 bond to increase that total to $726,311,000. As far as our project contingency, what we've been seeing here, again, this is what's allocated. $29 million was originally approved by the board. We have allocated additional monies as well. And in the projects that have been completed, for example, Burgess, Tinajero, we've been able to bring back, return to the contingency fund. And so far, as we look at the balance right now that we have, it's $2.8 million that we have there. Now, right now, we're in the process of closing several that we have pending items, but we will provide an update in the next quarterly meeting, and we're forecasting this contingency to grow in a positive manner. Now, as far as the general construction projects, overall, these are the campuses that have been completed, and this is construction only. We still have some minor items pending, such as finishing the punch list items, some technology installs, and finalizing the documents. We had a back order of supplies in technology, and that's why we're barely finishing this quarter. Plan to finish by hopefully by June, in prepares for the next quarterly update. So. Bobby Joe Hill, recently we had a ribbon cutting ceremony. This is about 75% in total project completion. Some of the pending things that we have right now will be the blacktops, basketball courts, the pond completion, and some landscaping. Again, and our goal is to complete this by June of this summer. And again, here's some of the pictures in the campus. Now, Tinajero, we're about 92% there. We're still some going warranty issues that we're addressing. We're finding final change order documents and again, working to close out that project as well. Again, some of the campuses. Charles Murphy?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate it how you said that Bobby Joe Hill's going to be completed by June 2023. As you're going through each one, can you give us an estimated date of completion?
A completion date?
Yeah. Or month and year is fine.
So, okay.
So go back to Tinajero, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Tinajero, again, our goal is to finish that also by the end of the school year, this school year, in May. We're like 92%. We have some, like I said, just warranty items being addressed and finishing the project closeout as well. Charles Murphy, we're about 91% there as well. Again, almost the same mirror as Tinajero, finishing the warranty items, final closeout. And again, this one we expect to be finished by July of this summer. Coach Wally Harley, we're about there at 61% total. We still have continuing working on the buildings themselves, renovating the roof, and again, the slight demolition for us will be after we start in the school. So here we're looking to probably finish sometime in October, November timeframe. Navarrete, we're 100% as far as the building completion. We're working on the play fields. 99% there, project close out. Again, this one will be completed by the end of the school year, this school year in May. Thomas Jefferson, we're right now working on the fields, the parking lot, ponding area is complete. And we'll have some renovations in the auxiliary gym. So here we plan to finish at least by the July of this, in the summer.
I have a quick question on Jefferson. So it just came my way. Have you been informed, are we aware that there might be some concrete cracking within the buildings anywhere? That is anything that should be of concern?
For the ponding area?
No, this is within the school itself, within Jefferson. I was notified by.
In the gym? Yes, actually we, as far as the stain or the sealant on the floors themselves, we're working right now with the contractor to get that under warranty and fixed.
So you'll confirm that there are some concrete issues on the floor?
The ceiling that was put in there was not what we had up to standard.
But is it ceiling or floor?
Sealant, the sealant.
Sealant, I'm sorry.
For the
Sealant
floor.
on the floor.
So it's sealant cracking, gotcha.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Coronado, this is about 64% complete. We're working on, like I said, on the building B, the courtyard. Our goal is to complete this project by the end of this school year, not school year, the end of the calendar year in 2023.
Is that realistic, though? I mean, this project has not moved forward where we needed to, and I just don't see it being complete by the end of this calendar year. And I know you just took over, so I really appreciate you coming in and you know, you got handed a lot of work, and so I'm very appreciative of that. But I see this going through next year at the very least.
So right now, that's our goal, and again, we'll continue assessing the situation, and again, things change, we'll bring that up to the board for information and any changes that we have to do.
Your next quarterly update is when? In August?
The next quarterly update will be in August.
Right, so in
Yes.
August, we'll provide, and leading up to August, some more definitive timeline information to share with the board, whether we forecast meeting the December 2023 deadline, or if there's any setbacks or lagging, project completion.
And echo Dr. Acevedo, I think this is kind of like the other projects that we dealt with. If we can just keep an eye on this, flag it so that no change orders are brought to the board after the fact, or any of those surprise elements. So if we can just put a flag there.
Some of the, again, additional projects completed, again, included the Memorial Park softball field, Washington Park baseball field, 37 playground canopies, athletic upgrades, track, courts, lighting and baseball fields, and then our transportation as well with 81 combo buses. So. Now, in our technology updates as well, right now we're working on getting the outdoor wireless up and going there as well. We recently also upgraded the broadband fiber in the campuses. And we also are bringing in some uninterruptible power supplies. Again, that will help a lot of the power fluctuations as you probably experienced today during your board meeting. Right? So, again, one thing that I have seen here in El Paso's district is not only the infrastructure, the utilities is also kind of needs to be upgraded. So we have a lot of fluctuations, and what we want to do is make sure that there's minimized interruption in instructions, especially they're using the Wi-Fi, the internet, especially with 30 seconds, 1 minute power loss or fluctuations. When I came to El Paso ISD, one of the things that I found out in the bond campuses that they were half and half. Half of the classrooms had panels, and some of them didn't. So one of the things that we work strategize is to make sure that all classrooms have the same technology, and we were able to again align to make sure every classroom in the bond campuses right now will have an interactive flat panel, and modernizing it as well with a mini PC behind the panels. Again, majority of our bond campuses also got a marquee, a digital marquee. That's one of the technology updates there. And we were able to finally last month bring the Jumbotron for Austin High School to the board approval. And right now it's on order, and hopefully we'll get it here between 90 days so we can, again, introduce it to the campus.
Very excited about that one. I know Ms. Ponce is probably very, very happy and just really appreciative of the meeting that we had a few months ago to just kind of look at the options and finally move on this, because this was highly, highly delayed. So very happy. I think they're going to be thrilled to have this.
Thank you. And the other thing that we were, again, had back order or waiting was the access controls. Every campus, again, we're adding a video entrance door. We're also targeting the main back entrance to the campuses to have this video entrance release button. We're also adding interior and exterior door access controls, and as well as surveillance around the campuses. And like I said, I want to thank the facilities and construction team. Again, these are some of the project managers, but I also want to thank the operations team, Mr. Corona and Mr. Ortiz, because again, together we've been again mastering and ensuring that we continue with these projects and ensure that we continue within a steady timeline. Any questions?
Before questions, I just want to reinforce a comment that was made at the very beginning of the presentation, that although we're still working to close out projects, we do anticipate an increase in the contingency fund, and we will come back to the board with information about that so that the board can provide us feedback on how to best utilize that money for improvements at other campuses.
I did want to, I was going to ask a question to that. And I'm going to go back to my memory, which as I age is getting slower. But when this project, and when we were going through the community meetings at each and every one of these schools, the principal community meetings, and we were setting the budgets for each individual school, there was discussion that for these contingencies that the schools were leaving that would become available, is that there was going to be a prioritization of additional projects within those schools, within their budgets. And so I'm going to share that. I don't know the knowledge that exists today because I can see that right now there's probably, with the bond team, nobody that was here during those conversations. And so it leaves me the last one standing there. But that was a conversation with the school principal committees. Vince, you remember those, right? Where we were meeting with each individual school. And each one of them, they all developed a list of projects, and then they prioritized, and then there were, for every school, there was a list left over. I also know that there was conversation that for identified very serious issues that needed to be addressed, that those monies then could also be used by that. I'm looking at Navarrete, 15 million, is that correct? 15 million in contingency at Navarrete?
Let me go back.
That's a lot.
I think what happened with that one is that the board decided after the fact to add Navarrete, no?
Well, Navarrete, I think there was a change
If you
on how it proceeded,
yeah.
but
Go to the bond program
to merge
status
Hernandez.
program contingency spreadsheet. And there's a line item there that says that
This one?
that's approved allocations are 15 million. Can you
Yeah.
clarify that for Mr.
yeah,
Velarde?
the 15 million, that's, yeah, even though, I know that we made a change and we consolidated the two PK8s, but 15 million, when you look at the rest of those contingencies, 15 million, I mean, that's a whole lot of money that wasn't spent on a project.
I think that those are approved allocations, so
Am I
that's why
missing
I'm
it?
trying to get clarification.
Well, let's get clarified,
Yes.
because I'm seeing these as, what is our contingency?
We did
29 million, right?
We did allocate an additional 15 million from the program contingency to that project because the size got increased to 1,000 students. So,
Okay, I'm getting it now. I'm understanding this graph. It's been a while since it. So these 29 million have then already been allocated?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, all right. And then, is there anything at this point projected to be left over in contingency?
It's,
right now we have 2.8 million
That's
remaining
accurate.
in contingency, 2.8 million is
Okay.
shown there, the balance.
Okay, that clarifies it. Okay, that makes all the difference. Then I take back my questions, because there's not a lot left.
right.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, though.
Yeah, I know.
And it's
At
different.
first, I saw that too.
I'm sorry. It's different, but maybe along the same lines. I just wanted to know how the Chapin track, I think what it was funded and how we're coming along on that, even though, can I ask during this?
Let's get clarification. So
Well,
Sezzy,
it's-
if that's not part of the presentation, is that something that we can report back on? If not, I can add it to the pending list and we can provide you.
Covered under the
No,
bond,
it's
though.
not part of the presentation or the backup.
But
I
wouldn't
know
it a
that
bond
it is going to
project, the
be an
track?
item that will be brought, that I know that facilities has in the queue to be brought to the board.
Right, that's not a bond-funded project, the track. We only funded the design with the bond money.
Okay, so I will put that on the pending list, Ms. Hernandez, so that we can provide you an update and clarification on that particular project. And then via Ms. Collins, it's coming to the board in the future for approval of
Right.
whatever pieces need to be approved by the board for that project.
Right.
Thank you.
And kind of in line with that, one of the things that I was going to ask is if we could have a presentation perhaps at the same time as a bond presentation for capital improvement facilities, because I think a lot of the times those are things that don't come to us as frequently, and it's important for us to kind of keep a pulse on it, and I won't get too much into it, but I did want to bring that up. The other comment that I had, or the other request that I had regarding these just presentations generally, was as we're sort of nearing the end of our bond project and program, I would love to see sort of a lessons learned for the community. I think it's really important that the community understands that we've addressed some of the things that maybe we've felt deficient in terms of processes and procedures, so that as we move forward, the community can be comfortable that we've taken steps to rectify some of those things. I just think the public accountability part of that is really important, and will also position us strongly as we look at future capital improvement projects and programs. So I'd love to see something like that with one of these bond updates in the future. The last question that I had, or I guess the only question that I have, is on the security cameras, is there a plan to swap out the current cameras with video cameras, so that there's a sort of a system-wide system?
Yeah, right now we're working on a refresh plan because, again, if we have older cameras, we need to make sure we replace them and they're working. So right now we're working on a refresh plan, and some of them that don't work with this bond schools, we also are working on another security plan that you see in there as far as upgrading through some other projects will be to ESSER as we start working to comply with the TA mandates on security and surveillance, which includes our doors and exterior doors and then the perimeter of the campus and so on.
So eventually the plan is to phase them all into video door stations?
Yeah, so the plan for the exterior doors will be to label them, and then some of them will have access controls, and some of them will be locked position, especially the exterior doors.
So that is, some of those are requirements from TEA, specifically labeling each one of the doors, so that if there is first responders who respond to the campus for a crisis, they know the entry point and where to come into the campus, right?
Yes, and we're working with Chief on the committee, identify the exterior doors, label the plans, and when we'll compile the data, we'll probably provide an update to the board.
And you did say that there is a camera refresh plan that we're executing.
We're working on that.
Yes, okay.
So now I'm sort of understanding their camera. So when we say video door, it's just the one-way video coming from the door station to the inside.
So we have two cameras. We have the surveillance, and we also have the ring-type camera, where the office staff will be able to see who needs access and inquire before they let somebody in. So they'll be able to remotely open the doors and let them, depending on who's a visitor or a student that wants to come into the campus.
Okay, there was a part of me that was thinking for a moment it was going to be
the
screen type.
Yeah, that's a
system.
little camera,
Yeah.
like the ring.
Have we evaluated going forward whether we want to continue, whether this is the best option? And the only reason I ask that question is I want to make sure that if we're continuing to spend, that we're spending on the best security system available.
In some campuses, we've gone and evaluated how many back entrance points they have. So we don't want students standing in line and some knocking on the door to come in. So we've been evaluating to identify at least one entrance point, and then one main entrance where they have the camera. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Urbali. Mr. Verluso, I just missed, I was looking at the presentation, I'm embarrassed to say, and missed your update on the marquees. What was with the marquees?
On the marquees?
The digital marquees that's in the back. It's like- Digital marquees, majority of bond campuses. Have they arrived at the campus, or what's the status of those?
Yeah, most of the bond campuses receive a marquee. And we're right now, I know that most of them have been, I think, right now, MacArthur, and it's one of the ones that is being installed. And then what was the other one?
We're also doing one at address. Well, there's design. There's design we're working on because there are some that weren't completed, but MacArthur and, I can't think of which other one, but there's one other one that is currently being, we just did bids for them so that we can get them installed.
Do you have a completion date, anticipation, or projection for these projects?
Well, those ones we also expect to finish by the summer.
By this summer?
Yes, by this summer.
And then with the security, I know that we have bond projects that still have holes in the wall for the ID badges to let students in and out. I know that that was something that we were going to do internally as per the changes in the bond. I just wanted to, you may not know what that timeline is. So if that information's not ready, Ms. Saavedra, if you can just include that in the board update at some point about what the timeline is for that. But if y'all know, that's great too.
Can you comment on that timeline, or do I need to put that on the pending list?
So for the cameras?
No, this
So-
is for the badge, the access badge one. So I know
Yes.
like the Andrews Pack, for example, there are places in the walls where those will be installed. They still have not yet, they've been yet to be installed, and then the badge is still not being up.
So some of them have been installed and they need programming. That's one thing that we're working as well. And I know we have, working through ESSER, there'll be another project for security that we also plan to add more access controls as well.
So it's the anticipated completion date into the summer as well, so starting the new year, we would be good to go?
So our goal is to make sure we are compliant with the state by the summer. And then we'll start looking at what other interior areas, doors that we would have to add access. Right now, the main goal is to make sure we're complying with the state with the exterior and the perimeter.
Okay, so there's two different things, I guess, is what we're saying. So I'm talking about the ones that were included in the bond project. So if you look at several of our campuses, or buildings across campuses, the Andrews Pack being a good example, I think the Austin Pack was another one. There were access pads planned for inside the building to allow access for students and staff. Those specific that were included in the bond, are we tying that to the external doors?
No, so those ones we were gonna finish by this summer. All bond projects will be, access controls with the bond project will be completed by this summer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there being no other questions, thank you very much for the presentation. Apologize for all the confusion, but thank you, that was very important for us to know.
Thank you.
With that said, we will now move on to item 8, action items. Item 8A, discuss and take appropriate action on employee retention stipend, up to $1,500. Ms. Saavedra?
Yes, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Aguirre. If you recall, when the board adopted the budget back in June, we discussed 2 disbursements of employee retention stipends, and so this is the second of those retention stipends.
If you'll give me 1 second, I'm looking for the presentation.
We've run out of consent agenda items.
Okay.
Again. Okay. There we go. It's back to an old setting.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Velarde, Superintendent Saavedra, Board of Trustees. My name is Marta Aguirre, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer. And this evening, I'm here to present and request your consideration in the disbursement of the second employee retention stipend for this school year. As Ms. Saavedra mentioned, during the adoption of our budget and compensation package last June, to be exact, June 23rd, Part of the compensation plan included 2 employee retention stipends, one of which was dispersed in November, and the second, which is now being proposed for your approval, with a disbursement date of the month of June of 2023. The amount of the stipend would be $1,500 per employee, regardless of whether they are a permanent, full-time or temporary employee. And the funding of the stipend would be funded with ESSER to be paid out no later than June 30th. As I stated, the stipend is at $1,500. The requirement or the criteria for employees to receive this stipend would be that they be hired with a start date, or they would be hired no later than April 30th of 2023. So that basically encompasses every employee that is hired within the school year, this current school year. Again, they must be hired through or be employed through the last day of instruction for this current school year as well. And as I stated, it's on a permanent, the employee must be on a permanent status, but it does, regardless of full-time or part-time, they would get the full amount of the stipend, which is $1,500. And that's all I have in regards to this stipend. Do you have any questions?
One really quick question. What was the date that you all started the stipend last year? I recall it being March or April. Was it a different date for employees that were eligible for the stipend at this time last year?
No, it was the same. It was the same. The second stipend is always employees need to be hired at least by April 30th of the current school year.
So the exact same timeline?
Exact same time.
Thank you.
What was the total cost of this issuance of the stipend?
The issuance of this stipend is estimated at $12.3 million.
Any other questions? There being no other questions, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There being none in opposition, this motion carries unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all our staff and job well done. We will now go to item 8B. Discuss and take appropriate action on participation in public schools in military installations program for Bliss Elementary School. The district may be responsible for allocating a 20% share of the cost of renovations or rebuilds. So Ms. Saavedra, will you lead us through this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Velarde and trustees. This agenda item is being presented to you all for your consideration and approval for us to continue to do the work associated with this particular campus. Bliss Elementary is on the military campus, military installation, and so it has qualified to receive funding from the federal government for us to do improvements and/or a rebuild, based on what our facilities assessment is recommending. We're currently scheduled to be part we've got to do a preliminary presentation in Arlington, Virginia in the month of May. And so that we can begin to solidify this particular project. I'm going to hand it over to staff so that they can provide the timeline and the particulars and what we would be held accountable for. But the biggest piece of this is that 80% of the funding would be provided by the federal government based on this program, and the district would be responsible for 20% of the funding. I believe that we went through a similar process to update and rebuild Logan Elementary School, which is also on Bliss Military Installation. So at this time, I'll hand it over to who's taking the lead on this one, Mr. Verduzco, to share any additional pieces of information that you need to know. And again, we're seeking your approval to continue to move forward with this project, and then we'll come back with additional details and future board approvals that will be required as part of this project.
Okay. Good evening, President Velarde, Ms. Ayavera, members of the board. Like Ms. Ayavera said, the school district has been invited to participate in the public schools and military installation program orientation in May 8th to the 9th at Arlington, Virginia. Again, the invitation is a result that the Department of Defense has appropriations, and Fort Bliss Bliss Elementary has been identified as number 69 on the Serious Capacity and Facility Contingency Deficiency as of April 15, 2029 on the Public Schools and Military Installation Priority List. So in this orientation, the school district, along with our Fort Bliss representatives, will be briefed more on the public schools and military installation program. And we're also going to have a breakdown session to specifically address Bliss Elementary needs, the project requirements, financial capabilities in order to do this project, among other items. And again, like I said, if we're successful in submit a project proposal for review, if selected, then the school district will be responsible for that 20% matching contribution, where the Department of Defense will pay 80%. So the administration is recommending the board approve continue efforts on this project collaboration. And if we're successful in submitting a proposal that's accepted by the Department of Defense, administration will bring it here for recommendation for the board.
Are there any questions?
Do we have a ballpark cost on this?
So one of the assessments that we recently received, it's construct a new school, it's approximately $54 million.
And so we would be responsible for 20% of that if our proposal was accepted. And so the assessment for that particular campus is not to invest in any more improvements. The recommendation would be for a rebuild. And so as of the assessment of that facility, the total cost would be $54 million. 20% of that we would be responsible for. So for our application to be accepted by the Department of Defense, we would have to show that we would be able to cover 20%, which is about $10 million.
And so how would we show that? So I guess what I'm asking is this giving you the ability to apply and then later we could figure it out if we want to move forward, or this is binding and we're doing it and we're going to figure out where we get the 10 million?
Your approval today is not binding. Your approval today is giving us permission to go forward to Arlington, Virginia, to hear all of the particulars. And before we get to a point where we submit an application and have to commit to that 20%, we would have to bring that to the board for a final cost timeline and how we would support funding that 20%. So this right now is just giving your approval for us to continue to pursue this project.
And then you're going to bring us more details and figure it out, and then we could vote again to see if we want to move forward.
Right.
Okay,
sir.
Martha, I get it, and we need to look at it, but where would we get these $10 million if we were to proceed?
So preliminarily, and again, this is just, if you ask me today, what are our options? So the issuance of debt, one opportunity that we have, it would be through the Public Facility Corporation mode. And I have reached out to our financial advisors to get a little bit of guidance. Of course, there's a lot, there's a process that we'd have to follow. But that would be the one opportunity that we'll have to fund and issue debt for this type of project.
That will be debt financing.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And actually, it's 10,800,000, so it's closer to 11 million.
Well, and in that's today with that 54 million estimation of a rebuild, right? So it's going to be in that ballpark.
Any other questions?
I do, but I don't know if you have the answer. Does that include the furnishing and like the technology, or is that cost going to be separate and above what we would have to do?
It's our understanding that's a full build out.
Everything? Okay.
That would be the FF&E.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have this is an action item.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There be no one opposing. This motion carries unanimously, 6-0. We will now move on to item number 10, next month's agenda. Ms. Saavedra.
Yes, I'll be very brief. Really, we'll be providing a report on our fiscal year 2022 financial forecast. In addition to that, we will also be certifying the required hours of continuing education for board members in May. And the SHAC, our School Health Advisory Council, will also be presenting to the board in June. We'll be working towards the adoption of our budget and our compensation package. So that's the forecast for the next 2 months.
Okay, I just, on the, probably a little late now if anybody doesn't have their hours, but have we been reported the total number of hours for a year? Do we all know where we stand?
If we can get that, that'd be wonderful.
It would be
Okay,
helpful.
all right. So I'll put that on the pending list or for the board update so that we can give you an accounting of where you are and what you need to complete before the board meeting in May.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now 7:09 PM and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.